The city of Toronto has been really good to me, has been kind to me. And I know that that's not the case for so many people. I was thinking if there's one way that I could help that next generation of this city be strong and dynamic, then that's kind of the thing I was looking for. It came out of the blue for me, but at the same time, I was seeking something exactly like trails. So this was when I was working at Scotiabank, and I was part of an internal meeting that one of our current fellow board members, Greg Ryan, was talking about how he takes his team to trails once a year and the work they do and then what trails is. And I left that meeting not thinking, oh, I want to go do a team event at trails, but thinking, oh, I want to go work for trails. And I didn't want to leave my full-time job, but I had been looking for something to volunteer for, and I really wanted to find a place that was related to the city of Toronto. Greg Ryan made this presentation and I thought, oh my God, that's it. I'm getting goosebumps even as I say that. And he introduced me to the director at the time, and we had a conversation in this food court in the Eaton Center, and she said, if you have found trails, I think Trails has now found you. And that's how I became a facilitator as a side gig to my full-time PR job. I was a really lucky kid in the sense that I had quite a privileged upbringing. The struggles that I think I might have faced as a kid are pretty manageable. Sports was a big part of my family growing up. I was a competitive swimmer. I was also in track and field. These are all singular sports where you don't have to play as a team, and also where you really only use your own body, because I do not have great coordination. I was a dancer for a bit until my dance teacher pulled me aside at the end of a class and said, Lauren, you can dance recreationally for the rest of your life, but you will never dance competitively. I took a year off to work for the family business, to do some traveling. That was when I backpacked through Europe, and then decided what I was good at was storytelling. I loved English in high school. I loved both the reading and the writing part of it. I loved pop culture. I loved the way that celebrity stories would come to life as their own narratives of these people that we didn't know. And I thought, there's something interesting there that needs to be done in organizations for brands. So I thought communications, public relations, that would be a good thing for me. And that's a job that I think is readily available. Cold shower guy, cold plunge guy, get your eyes into the sunlight guy. I was a camp girl growing up, and I have seen the value that outdoor education gives to everybody. It's part of what has shaped me as a human being. It's part of what has helped me to make friends throughout my life. When you go to camp and you don't know anybody, and you look around and you think, okay, I gotta make a friend here. And then you make one friend, and then you make another, and then all of a sudden you have a very tight-knit group. And I thought, Trails is that plus. Because Trails is not just outdoor education. It is outdoor education in service of lifelong skills that our participants can take into their adult life. The new cohort of kids show up at the playing field, which is a bit far from the lodge that we're sitting in right now, and they are dumped into the playing field. So the kids get dropped off kind of like right in that area there. And from there, they do not come to a lodge with a cozy bed and food in front of them. You repack your stuff, a sleeping bag, a little bit of clothes, some of the items that we've told you to bring, and you hike to a campsite where you're going to spend, I think it's 2 nights. So here I am, 30 years old. We get to the campsite and I'm thinking, oh my God, I am responsible for the care and feeding of these 10, 12-year-olds who don't know each other, who don't know, for the most part, don't know much about camping at all, are terrified of bugs, do not know how to build a fire, and I am in charge of these children. What do you do next? I think the answer is First of all, you admit that you are not perfect. And also a little bit of delegation, right? See the skills that some people have and then let them run with those things. So you are good at finding firewood, you are now my firewood manager. And together we did that for 2 days, and then we all trooped back to the lodge, dirty, full of bug bites, shoes are wet because there's somehow you can never not get your shoes wet when camping. And that was the beginning. Okay, high flyers. There they are. 2013 to 2017 was the Golden Constellation. Yeah, 2013 to 2017. I'm always amazed at how every group has at least one real artist, because if you look at these paddles, they are the work of real artists, not just, you know, a kid with a paintbrush. These are my kids.
Hi, Quentin. Say hi to the camera. This is Christine. I'm just vlogging, you know. Vlog number 2, okay? Thanks, Austin, for that one. This is Susanna. Oh, yeah. And that's Michaela. And, guys, you ready to see me? It's gonna be really, really scary.
I think about them even over the 4 years, you almost can't really comprehend it. When these kids show up at 12 years old, they are the sweetest little babies. That first few days with these kids is like a supercharged friendship, confidence building time. And they come back and they're linked to each other in a way that they weren't before. And that, I think, sets them up for a feeling that will last for 4 years, because they are now a unit. They have built a unit together, and they know that they are going to spend 4 years in this unit. And I think the 4 years part of Trails is so important, because one of the things that Trails does is provide structure and familiarity and routine. And that can be so helpful for a kid who's going through an incredible amount of change. From ages 12 to 16, you are just figuring out who you are as a person. And for a lot of our kids, they don't have the structure at home. They maybe don't have the routine or the familiarity, which leads to a feeling of safeness, but at Trails they do. And that is one of the most important things that I think we give our kids. Still smells the same. Kind of like a mixture of cleaning products and kid, I guess. Is there any other way to say it? Oh, but this is so much better than when I was here. We did not have fun couches like this, and not all the bunk beds matched. This is really cozy. This was definitely a place of comfort, even for me, because we used to, once the kids came back here in the night, we would all gather. They would get their sleeping bags and we'd sit on the ground and we'd tell stories, or we'd braid hair or do whatever. A lot of the kids called me mom, and it was kind of a joke, but also kind of not. And it was hard. It was something that I had to figure out how to deal with, because I'm not a mom. Having a little sister, I definitely had that protective big sister vibe, kind of leader of the pack. The fact that they could feel this maternal energy from me was a surprise, but also an enormous compliment. It's so funny because it's such a short walk, but I always remember the kids would be like, "Oh, we gotta walk to the campsite." Like, guys, it's 100 meters maybe. So we did our first year graduation, or was it even just you survived the summer session? It might have been, but we had little certificates printed out for each of our kids with something specific to them, just to kind of recognize that everyone had been here together and that we'd made it through. And I think we had each of them stand, and we did like a shaking hand photo with each of them, and it was really cute. We did some skits here, we had snacks here. This was, I don't know, this felt like home base.
I still remember it like it was yesterday. The scene of the crime, the war against the mosquitoes. Oh, it plays in my mind.
As a facilitator, I tried to be as observant of my kids as possible, to think of, what do you love? What are you scared of? Where do you find humor? What is uncomfortable for you? And then try and observe those things so that I could make an individual connection with a kid, even if it was something as simple as, you love grilled cheese. My journey to the board of directors was not one that I was seeking out, but in hindsight is exactly where I should be. I had spent some time with Hearst when I was a facilitator, Jim Hayhurst, who's the founder of Trails, and he's someone that people just gravitate to that man. So I finished my 4 years, I saw my Golden Constellation graduate, and then I went on my way. It was Hearst who called me to say, would you consider becoming a director on the board? And I thought, what do I have to offer to this board? We are a group of people, all kinds of different skill sets, all kinds of different connections to Trails, who just want to help Mel and help the staff group do the most that they possibly can to keep this wonderful program running as well as growing. I've grown a ton as a board member and taken on a lot of things that scared me when I started. I remember Hearst saying to me, can you bring in funds? This is a fundraising board. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't have deep pockets myself. I'm not a rainmaker on my own. And now, I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, I am helping to raise $70,000, $80,000 in a year through a flagship program that we call the Get Outside Challenge.
Get outside for Trails!
Before Trails, I was looking for purpose in terms of giving back to the community that's been so good to me. I was learning every day from the kids around me and from the incredible staff here. And after Trails, I'm a better leader because I'm taking the things that I learned here and I'm applying them to my professional life and my personal life. This is a special place. And I think it's special because it does work with our kids in ways that other charities don't do. And that's specifically related to the 4 years and the 4 life. There's not a lot of places that have a really big impact on a small number of people over time. And that's Trails' entire mission, is to say, we want to help a certain number of kids become contributing members to their communities. And that's not a one-time thing. That's not a one event a year thing. That is a consistent presence in their life through some of the most formative years of their life. I don't know another place that's doing that, and I think that's so important for these kids. And if we can help 20 kids a year become this city's next whatever it is that matters to them, then I think we've done a good job. One of the reasons I think Trails has been so successful is that we do continue learning and changing.